Good afternoon from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. The time is 4:24 on the 15th of August 2025. It's Friday. Shabbat Shalom. I've not long gotten home. I went out with my beautiful friend Lynn Sloan today. We went to Paddington, just on the spur of the moment, which was a lovely surprise. And I love to do things spontaneously, have little spontaneous outings or little adventures. So it was really quite lovely. And so we had lunch together at the Java Lounge, had a very nice lunch. And then we went and looked at the antique centre next door, and that was fun. We had a good long look at everything. And then I said to Lynn, we'll have to come again. There's so much to look at. I've gone into kind of overwhelm, and we kind of only had parking for 2 hours, so we were cognizant of time. But yes, I think we'll be going back there again, my darling Lynn and I. Really enjoyed our little outing today. And I've been so sick that I haven't been anywhere at all, hardly, just to the shops and back. So I was still a bit weak, meandering around. I noticed that I was struggling a little bit, and I still had a bit of I've still got a bit of a cough. But apart from that, it was a beautiful day, and Paddington's so pretty with all the houses on stilts, and they're all kind of vintage-looking houses, and it's got its own charm. And it's been I can't remember the last time I went to Paddington. Yeah, it's been a while, so it was nice to just walk around and look at the little shops there, and we really enjoyed our lunch together as well. So yeah, I had a lovely day. And then I came home and I picked some lovely jonquils and Louisiana irises from my garden. I've got them in a vase, and I put it up on Instagram, little gifts from Sacred Space. Do you want to see them? I was going to bring them in and then I forgot. I'll take you into my kitchen. Get to see the lovely flowers. I love springtime, and my jonquils haven't flowered for about 4 years, and I worked out the reason being was it simply weren't cold enough winters. But anyway, here it is. Really quite beautiful. And if you can smell the jonquils, they're heavenly. I couldn't smell the last one I picked a couple of weeks ago because I had no appetite and no sense of smell. So, and the irises have got a much more delicate scent, but by the gods, they're pretty, and it looks so pretty sitting there. So yeah, the mama tea is very happy today. Very happy. And I'm hoping when I feel a bit better and healthier and stronger, I'll be even happier and I'll be able to achieve more things. I looked around in the antique shop there because I've been thinking about buying, like second-hand gold wedding bands and melting them down. But, they want about $400-500 just for 9 carat, or they were up to like, $800-900 for 18 carat just for a plain gold wedding band. I thought, that's not achievable. It's ridiculous. So I've decided that I'll have to save up a bit of money and buy a bit of gold bullion and melt that down for the next project that I want to do in real gold, make a real gold ring. And crikey, I'll probably need a fair few bullion coins, so it still probably will be an expensive exercise, but I think it'll be cheaper if I melt down some bullion coins as opposed to buying antique things in antique shops and paying all that markup of because the shops have to pay their rent, so there's a huge markup on everything. So I've decided I'll just keep my eye out and cash converters or places like that, but I don't think they'll be much cheaper either. So yeah, I'll just have to acquire my own scrap gold or build it up over time, and then I'm going to make myself a nice ring. And why not? Why the hell not? Just something different, you know. So that's my next goal, my ideas for my future. Who knows if I can actually pull it off, because Lynn tells me gold's cheap at the moment to buy, so that could be a good thing, but I don't have, you know, any extra money, so meh. Meow, 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 meow. Anyway, just one moment. We've got the afternoon chill, and I want to get my washing off the line before it gets all damp. Sorry, but you know how these things work. The women of Earth are like, yeah, do that quickly, Tanya. Right, I'm off. I'm off like God. I'm just going to get the washing in, Birdie boys. Dear Goddess. What you doing, Kami boy? I'm gonna go and stir up little Bo. Right, I'm back in the room, people of Earth. I can relax now, but it is quite, you know, the nighttime dampness, and it's quite descending very quickly out there in my chest. Set me off coughing up a lung again. What can I do? It is what it is, people of Earth. Right, I haven't said my greetings to people of Earth and all sentient beings and all interdimensional entities. So, on this beautiful magical day, the 15th of August. And so, greetings from Titania's realm, as per normal. And let us continue reading from Satan's Choice. We're up to chapter 20, and the title is Bo. B-O. Bo. Right, little Bobo. It's all about you today. He says, no, it's not, Mama T. Oh, in Thousand Island Dressing, I think it's called. This lovely shop. They've been there for many years. They had a gorgeous pair of cockatiel earrings, like in recycled plastic. I need earrings like a fucking hole in the head because I make my own. However, they were so cute. And I thought, wouldn't that be cute if I had those cockatiel earrings? They weren't that dear. They were like $34. But I wanted to keep my money for my lunch, you know, which I'm glad I did. So I just looked at them. I thought, I might go back and get them if they're still there, actually. I don't need them. But it would just be cute when I get little bugger lugs, my little Bo, tamed down, if I can ever tame him down. It'd be cute having him sitting on my shoulder with matching cockatiel earrings. I know, I'm a child. I'm a child, and I'll always be a child. I've got stunted, arrested development. But, you know, but just think about it, people of Earth. The women in this that come to my channel will completely understand my logic. A sweet little cockatiel and my sweet little cockatiel earrings He'll probably chew them though, won't he? He'd chew them. So maybe not. But anyway, I still might buy them anyway and just wear them just for shits and giggles without the bird on the shoulder, because, yeah, he'll chew them up. But they were so cute. They also had beautiful cockatoo ones and black cockatoo ones as well. Oh, I wanted them all. And then I realised, I said to myself, you don't actually need them, Tanya Aarons. And you can make a lot of your own things, Tanya Aarons. You're a very talented woman. I could make them myself, technically, if I get a little template, melt my own plastic. But it's just nice to have ones that are ready made for me, and I don't have to do all the bloody work all the time for myself. But I could technically do something similar, but look, they're not that dear, and they were charming. I might actually go and get them. I might actually do that. Do I need them? No. I've got so many bloody earrings, it's ridiculous now, because some of my friends, my wonderful friends, kept giving me all their jewellery collection. Tarina gave me so many. I've still got them, Tarina, majority of them. Some I gave away and, you know, moved the energy on, but some I kept. But I've got so much, it's ridiculous. You know, costume jewellery, and then the sterling silver pieces that she gave me and stuff that I've made myself. I don't really need those cockatiel earrings, do I? No. But Miss Five, my inner child that, you know, can be quite a demanding little brat at times, she's like, come on, just buy me a pair of earrings, Mama T. You know you want to, Mama T. And I went, Miss Five, you're a 5-year-old trapped in a 60-year-old body, and, you know, you've got so much earrings, you don't need more. Miss Five actually didn't put on a tantrum because she understood, you know. Oh. So the next goal is I'll be trying to acquire scrap gold somehow. Legally, nothing dodgy, people of Earth. I'll just buy a few pieces here and there and build up enough to make a, you know, melt it down and make a ring. I know when I went to Palloy's, this was a couple of years ago now, they were selling 1 ounce and 1/2 ounce gold bullion. And I think I can go to the bullion centre in the city somewhere. Probably have to set up an account though. But, you know, if you pay cash for things and just buy a little bit here and there, they're usually happy for you to just be a casual customer and buy a bit here, a bit there. I don't know about the bullion place, but sometimes you can just have a little bit of chutzpah and ask, you know. I'll tell them that I make my own jewellery and I want it to melt down. And I have a fairly good idea that I'll have to buy some 9 carat or 18 carat casting gold granules as well to add to the gold to keep the carats up. But I'm not sure if that's the case with gold, because you have to add it to sterling to make sure it stays 925 sterling, but I'm not sure about gold. I'll have to research it and find out. But it's just for me anyway. But, you know, you want your gold to stay a certain carat, you know. So if you're working with 9 carat, you want it to be 9 carat, and if it's 18, you want to keep the purity, is what I'm saying. I'm not sure what purity bullion is. I'm suspecting it'd probably be 18 or 22 carats. Another thing I'll have to find out. But I'm not selling it. I mean, I could sell it on because I've bought it legally and I'm not doing anything dodgy, people of Earth, but I'm not selling it on. It'll just be something for me, just so I can learn how to work with gold and practice practice working with gold instead of sterling silver. Upgrading my skills, people of Earth. Will I do it? Probably take me a few years to acquire enough money to buy enough gold to make a nice ring. So there is that. Psychedelic dreamer dreams big. I'm a very ambitious person, but I'm happy to just do it in little tiny, you know, a little bit here and a little bit there, and, you know, build things up slowly. I'm not greedy. I'm ambitious, but I'm not actually greedy. So it will happen at the appointed time. It's meant to happen. And I want to learn how to set stones properly and, you know, be lovely. Later on, I could probably buy the occasional lab diamond and set them into a casting too. But I prefer real diamonds, but the risk with casting is that you'll crack a real diamond, whereas lab diamonds, I think, can take the heat. Well, that's the theory anyway. The theory, people of Earth. Right, anyway, enough meandering and musing and segueing, going on my little flippity gibbet Tanya Aaron's magic carpet rides, as we do. We'll carry on. I don't know why I've got a cowlick. I really don't. We'll carry on with the story. Bo. I couldn't keep a guy and break his fingers all night. Things were done more diplomatically. Lorne Campbell. They needed to take up a hobby like silversmithing and goldsmithing. Give themselves something to occupy their brain, and they wouldn't be thinking about all this violence all the time. On the other hand, they probably would, because they'd be cracking kneecaps and things to get their gold, wouldn't they? Because they don't do things legally. Oh, well, anyway, I just had a little dance through my own mind there. It was pretty good for a moment there. Mama tea. Anyway, let us continue. Campbell had heard of Brian Bo Cage long before 1985, when he met him at the tiny Choice Clubhouse on downtown Weber Street in Kitchener. Bo Cage's name came up whenever convicts or prison staff discussed the Kingston penitentiary riots of 1971, back when he was in the third year of an 8-year prison term for manslaughter. And police in his hometown of London, Ontario, knew of him long before then. He was about 14 when he was pinched for a break and enter, but the crimes that stood out were the violent ones. You always knew Brian wasn't going to die a natural death, retired London Police Superintendent Don Andrews once told a reporter. It's awful when you already knew that. It really kind of is. Well, live by the sword, die by the sword. Live by your choices, people of Earth. Sad but true. Sad but true. My little Kermie's on the swing. You swinging, Kermie? I cleaned their cages this morning. I was feeling very weak and dizzy, and it took a fair bit of energy, but it's not that hard, but I struggled. But they're nice and clean, and they're happy little birdies now. What's our little Bo doing? There he is. Bye-bye. Bye. Booty, 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 boo. That's how I used to talk to my doggy. He's in heaven. God sent me another bow. A feathery bow. Life is weird, people of Earth. Very, very weird. but lovely. The defining day of Bocage's long criminal record came on April 18th, 1971, or what prisoners called Bloody Sunday. Don't you hate it when the blinds won't go fully down? Right. That's the day Bocage and other inmates known as the Dirty Dozen forced 15 convicts, including child molesters, to sit in a circle, tied up with sheets over their heads, and face judgment by a kangaroo court as other prisoners screamed, "Kill the baby molesters, give them a taste of their own medicine." Then they executed 2 of them with sticks that had nails hammered through them. That day, Bocage assumed another role with the rioters. Of all the guys, he was designated to protect the guards. That, killing a guard, would be too serious. All they wanted was better food, and they didn't want the bell to be ringing all of the time. That wasn't worth a first-degree beef. His role in the brutality added just 20 months to Bocage's prison term. As a biker, Bocage showed a flair for making passionate enemies, especially when he was revved up on speed. Honestly. He moved on from the Holocaust Motorcycle Club, which was run by sociopathic hillbilly Wayne Weiner Callerstein. Is it Weiner or Wiener? Wiener. Oh my goodness, you came out to fly, little Bo. Have you noticed in the last month or so, since I bought him a better cage, he's settled down into living here and he's a much happier birdie, and he now flies around the room. He didn't used to do that. Just sat looking depressed and sulking day in, day out. I was terrified he might die on me. I'm not terrified of that anymore. I can see he's a much happier birdie. A much happier birdie, little Bo. Yes. You is a handsome boy and you're a happy birdie. Happy birdies means happy mama too. Oh, I worry over my children. You have no idea how much I worry over my children, including my 2 biological ones that are estranged to me. Shouldn't even worry about them, should I? Shouldn't give a flying. But, you know, once a mother, always a mother. I worry about my other kids too that aren't actually my kids, but I'm very fond of. Even though they've been a bit naughty from time to time, you understand. Still worry over them. Right, birdie boys. Who worries over Mama T? My psychiatrist, my friend Lynn, my friend Jared, a few other people out in the world. See? Love is love is love is love. Round and round it goes, spinning into infinity. And let us say, hallelujah. But where's that little munchkin gone? Where are you, little snooks? Can't see him. I've got to keep an eye out. Where are you? Oh, you're back on your own cage. Oh, you're being a busy boy. Oh, here he goes. Oh, there he goes. Going to fly back in his cage. Well, he's getting the idea of how to fly backwards and forwards now. Good boy. Having some exercise. It's good for birdies to fly. Right, now, the Holocaust Motorcycle Club, which was run by sociopathic hillbilly Wayne Weiner Calistine of tiny Iona Station, west of London. Calistine later attained infamy as architect of the Bandido Massacre. That's all I've got to say about that, people of Earth. When he led the slaughter of 8 of his clubmates and associates, Bocage graduated to the Satan's Choice, where he adopted the choice's hatred of the outlaws with the fervour of a true zealot. He disrespected the London outlaws in any way he could, from running strippers and selling drugs on their turf to trying to rip down the outlaw sign from their clubhouse. Honestly, on that occasion, he was shot before he could get the sign down, but escaped unbloodied because he was wearing a bulletproof vest. The outlaws had a separate policy for dealing with Bocage. Rather than waste time on hand-to-hand combat with him, they were simply to take him out, which means unalive him, people of Earth. Let's use the real words, because I dislike weird censorship of changing our English language to suit the sensibilities of what? Some fucking bot? Take someone out means to murder or kill them. That was easier said than done. No man is unkillable, that's for sure. But Bocage was certainly a challenge. Just want to see what's going on here. Are you eating your sunflower seeds? Oh, you was a good boy. Bocage was certainly a challenge. He had been shot in the heart by an outlaw with a .45 caliber automatic pistol outside an East End London bar on January 16th, 1987. But lucked out. A heart surgeon happened to be on duty when he was rushed to Victoria Hospital. That is indeed lucky. In 1988, 20 years after his original prison term began, Bocage was in the Kitchener Satan's Choice Clubhouse, snorting cocaine with Campbell. He had found work as an enforcer for the Montreal mob, and that evening Bocage had plenty to say to Campbell about his Satan's Choice clubmates. None of it was good. They argued in the upstairs washroom where they were doing lines. That would be lines of cocaine, people of Earth. But only briefly. It didn't last too long. We didn't dwell on it. Around this time, a friend of Campbell's named Danny told Bocage that he wasn't afraid of him. "I know I could take you," Danny said. Honestly. Dumb and dumber. Dead man walking. Some people are just stupid, aren't they? Like I said, they ride a very fine line because they have a death wish. Nothing came of it at the time, and Campbell later took Danny aside. "Danny, you might be able to do that, but you don't have the meanness. If you beat him up, he will likely come back and put one in your head. That's the meanness that you don't got." Danny took the advice and lived for another year when he died of a motorcycle accident near Kitchener. What I tell you about having a death wish? See? It's how it works. It's almost as if they kind of deep down know. Well, sooner or later, Santa Muerte catches up with you. When it's your time, your appointed time. Not a second too early, not a second too late. Just then and there. Bing, bam, boom, baby. Hopefully peacefully in our sleep from old age, but if you dance with the devil dances back magnificently. Can't always outwaltz the devil either. But by the gods, I've had fun trying, moshing as I do every weekend. I'd be out dancing tonight because the Mike Beale's on at 7:30. My friend Tim Bishop is playing. And then at 11, Ramjet are playing. This is at the Brooklyn Standard this evening, people at Earth. But my lungs aren't good enough. They're still a bit raspy. So I'll probably have to take another week to recover fully. It's disappointing, isn't it? I love dancing. I do. Campbell and Bocage met again at a party later in 1988 with Charmaine and Bocage's wife, Val, in the Kawathas near Lindsay, where a mutual friend had built a sprawling log cabin. A sprawling log cabin. Since their meeting, Bocage had left the Kitchener chapter, where he just didn't fit in. He'd been given a full patch with Oshawa. Campbell was Oshawa president and didn't realise the depth of hostility between Bocage and the Kitchener members. We just thought he'd be a good asset. And then I saw how mad they were. I didn't realise they'd be so mad. It put me in a spin because they were so mad. Again, Bocage was quick to disparage the club, and again he quickly grated on Campbell's nerves. I'm extremely loyal, so it's an argument. He was really running things down. I had been choice since I was 17. That's just not done around me. They didn't exchange blows that evening, but as the get-together ended, they both said words to the effect of, I don't want to see you again. When I see you again, it's going to be heavier than an argument. Just laying it out on the table, isn't it? Campbell stewed about it overnight, and when he got up the next morning, there seemed only one way to solve the problem. I went home, I got a gun. I told Charmaine I'd probably be gone for a couple of weeks. Brian was a dangerous guy, and I knew it. I told her, don't worry about it. She knew enough not to ask. His plan was to visit people and places Bocage frequented until he finally found Bocage himself. This wouldn't be easy, since Bocage didn't have predictable haunts. Once Bocage was found, Campbell would kill him. Campbell was sitting on his couch, ready to head off on this mission in his own private war, when Charmaine picked up the phone. It was Brian. He apologised to me. He said, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said the things I said. The apology didn't cause Campbell to lose respect for Beau Cage. Quite the opposite. It takes a big man to admit a mistake. And, in Campbell's eyes, Beau Cage had just proven he was a big man. Brian wasn't apologising through fear. He knew he was wrong. I was relieved that he phoned, because he was my friend. A friend he was prepared to shoot the day before, am I right? Bit capricious, that. Keep an eye on your friends, but keep your enemies even closer. Words to that effect. Police raids were a part of outlaw biker life. Grovelling to police wasn't. Campbell made it known to clubmates that they were to remain standing, even if ordered to do otherwise by police during a raid. Anybody gets down on his knees, I'll kick him in the face. In January 1989, police raided the club's Scarborough clubhouse. Everybody get on your knees, shouted an officer who was carrying a rifle. Nobody gets on their knees, Campbell responded. Anybody who wants me on my knees has to put me there. This wasn't well received by the officer who'd made the order. And this cocksucker hits me with his gun right below the solar plexus. Campbell stayed on his feet, struggling to deny the officer the satisfaction of knowing how hard he had hit him. When he regained his breath, he managed to say, I guess you don't know we do stomach exercises. Campbell had no stomach for a new breed of biker who hopped on a plane and shipped his bike to his destination unless there was an overwhelmingly compelling reason to do otherwise. Life has its mysteries, but some things are very simple in Lorne Campbell's universe, and one of them is that bikers ride bikes. Campbell rode his Harley west in 1989 for a mud run, or ride on rough roads from Winnipeg to The Pass, a berg 630 kilometres to the northwest. There was a lot that he liked about the Western bikers. He'd been impressed by the Los Bravos of Winnipeg when he went there to hunt down Tony Valentine and retrieve his choice patch in the early 1980s. Campbell noted how everyone had seemed to come to attention when a member of the Los Bravos walked up to the bar. Everyone in a second stopped talking. The health kick Campbell had begun after his heart attack was cooling considerably, and they dropped lots of acid while at The Pass. The next morning, as he climbed back on his 1989 Harley Classic, Campbell couldn't believe how much the front end of the bike was shaking. The road was bad, but not enough to explain the vibration of his handlebars. He pointed this out to Bernie Gendon, who was finally out of prison. The frog sounded sceptical, so Campbell told him to try to ride the bike himself if he needed proof. Gendon turned the throttle, rode a ways, and then pronounced a typically blunt judgment. "You're still fucking high, Lorne," he shouted. Campbell and Gendon rode out of the pass to Alberta to meet with the Grim Reapers. Somewhere along the road, the acid wore off, and Campbell's Harley got less shaky. While in Calgary, Campbell met Gentleman Jerry Tobin of the Grim Reapers, whose murder 2 decades later in England would make international headlines. He was a gentleman, a big guy, a quiet guy, a responsible guy, well-spoken, polite. Campbell and Gendon rode on to visit a friend in the Grim Reapers in Lethbridge, Alberta, named Jimmy. "Are you back in your cage, little boy?" "Oh, and you're back in your cage, little Kermie. Happy boys?" "Yes. You're getting ready to go sleepy, boys? It's nearly Shabbat. The sun's going down." "Yes, I know. I know. You're such a good boy. Show the people what a good boy you are." He's got a loose feather. I'm waiting for it to fall off for my Kermie feather collection. Here's one we prepared earlier. It's from a few weeks back. "You gonna give me a feather?" "Oh, I'm looking forward to your feather. That's a nice long one. That could go in my top hat, Kermie boy." "Yes, Mummy. You can wear my feathers when you go out." It's good mojo, isn't it? I've got mojo feathers in my top hat. Wow. Brisbane Jewish shaman, voodoo queen Winchester. Make the most of her own unique brand of magic, babies. Dear goddess. Right-wingly distracted by the polite Gentleman Jerry. So they've gone to visit Jimmy and the Grim Reapers at Lethbridge, Alberta. Jimmy had founded the club and was its national president. He owned no phone or television and didn't want them. He did know how to show Campbell a good time. There were the nicest looking girls and pure cocaine. Pure cocaine. Campbell wasn't the only Reaper's guest around this time. A decade later, a photo would surface of then Calgary Mayor Ralph Klein having a drink with members of the club. Spirits at me in the back of my head. "Go dancing, Mama T." "Oh, I'd love to, but it's cold and my lungs are still no good. I need to rest. No point pushing my old bones out and ending up with bloody pneumonia or something. That'd be awful. There's no one to look after me either, so I have to be cognizant of that. That photo became public at the time when Klein was Premier and talking of allocating more money to fight organised crime, including outlaw biker clubs. As Campbell rode out on his way home, Jimmy waved at him. "Stay Canadian, guys," Jimmy said. There had been a time when the Satan's Choice was fiercely Canadian, but by the winter of 1990, Campbell and some others wondered if the American-born Hells Angels might be a better fit. By now, even Gendon was unhappy with what had become of the club he had helped build. There had been a whole new generation of leadership since Campbell and 6 of the Port Hope 8 went off to prison. New members often seemed too soft, and it felt as though some people thought it was okay to take liberties with the choice. There were some violent things that happened. Nothing was done to retaliate. I'm a person who retaliates. That newfound conciliatory tone in the choice was a far cry from the time, a decade earlier, when Campbell took a hammer to Tulip for suspicions he'd torched the Choice's clubhouse. Campbell did that crime and then hard prison time for it without a word of apology, and made it clear he would do it again and again and again if necessary. Newer members didn't seem to understand what this was all about. I couldn't keep a guy and break his fingers all night. Things were done more diplomatically. No one took liberties with the Hells Angels in Quebec. They protected their brand as jealously as any major corporation and were prepared to kill even their own members and dump them in the St. Lawrence if that's what it took to keep the club in line. Making the Angels even more attractive in Campbell's eyes was the fact that they had never got along with the Outlaws, the club of Campbell's enemies, Mother McEwen and Dave Seguin. A half dozen Satan's Choice, including Campbell, Gendon and Wayne Kelly, rode east to visit the Angels at their Sorel clubhouse, about 90 kilometres north of Montreal. The Sorel Charter was the first, that means chapter, was the first for the Angels in Canada, and it had at one time been the home base for founding President Yves Le Boss Buteau and Maurice Mom Boucher. The feud with the Outlaws dated back to 1969, when an outlaw raped the wife of an American Hells Angel. As the story went, her husband and fellow club members bet the outlaw to death. Not long after that, American outlaws began frequently using the word adios for angels die in outlaw states. Gendon asked a polite postman in French for directions to the clubhouse. He had grown up in a francophone family, but his command of his mother language was mangled, and it took the letter carrier a few minutes to understand the question. Anybody there would have known. They're beside the biggest church in Sorel. They had a sign on top of the building saying, Hells Angels. Campbell, Gendon and the other choice members rode through the gate, past the motion detectors, and up to the 3-story bunker. Then they walked through the steel reinforced doors to see about setting up an Angels charter of their own. There was a security room with one-way bulletproof glass that faced the yard, and it was always manned. Inside it was a wall of TV monitors that showed every inch of the surrounding area. Rumour had it that even if a pane of glass was broken in a member's home, it would show up on one of the monitors. Another wall was lined with rifles and shotguns, all registered. There were also a number of guard dogs in the yard. How's that for organised, Campbell says. If accepted into the club, the Satan's Choice members would have the first charter of Les Hells in Ontario. It would infuriate the outlaws, which was always a good thing in Campbell's books. During the visit, the Angels noted that they had had a similar visit from 3 bikers from Ireland who were part of a new Angels charter and who rode run-down bikes. They sent the Irishmen away with 3 new Harleys and words of encouragement. Are you chewing your beak? It's a sign of happiness, people of Earth. Chewing on your own little beaky boys. Yes, you is a happy birdie. Happy birdie, Kermie. Happy bird. Within an hour of the arrival of Campbell and his crew, representatives of the Angels from across the province joined them. The Quebecers were respectful, something that always impressed Campbell. They listened to us, even though they had the reputation for being dangerous. There was no confrontation. There was no pulling heavies. They were perfect gentlemen. Getting a bit dizzy, I'm getting tired. I've been awake since 6 o'clock this morning. Waking up astonishing early these days. It's freaking me out, people of Earth. Not an early morning person normally. It's also a sign that I'm still not well because I need lots and lots of sleep normally. When they left, there was no promise made about patches, but they weren't rejected either. Campbell found himself wanting to be part of an Angels charter even more. That year, Campbell heard a story that Andrew Teach Simmons, the national president of the Outlaws from London, Ontario, was planning to head north of Toronto to kill him. Oh, meaning kill Campbell. Well, that's friendly, not. Simmons was the son of a British military sergeant major, and in previous incarnations, Teach had served as a school teacher and a youth church choir leader. That day, Teach had a court appearance in Barrie, and Campbell confronted him as he left the courthouse and told him what he had heard. "If you do, I'm ready," Campbell recalls saying. "If you come to my house, Teach, you will die in my driveway." "That's not true," Teach replied. "Who told you?" "He really denied it," Campbell says. "He was a gentleman, obviously nervous about what I was saying to him. Every night I sat with a high-powered rifle, waiting for them." Right, thus concludes chapter 20. Let's just see how long chapter 21 is. Yeah, I guess I can go a bit longer. Chapter 21, The Hard Way. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't out to get you. Old Kingston's Satan's Choice saying. It was also in 1990 that Campbell got a call from journalist Mick Lowe that chart-topping alt-country singer-songwriter Steve Earle wanted to meet him. Earle was riding high from his critical and commercial hit albums, Guitar Town and Copperhead Road, while Lowe had written Conspiracy of Brothers, a book that raised serious doubts about the Port Hope convictions. Earle first learned of the book and the Port Hope story from Wally High, an original Kingston Satan's Choice member who liked to say, "Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't out to get you." One of my favourite sayings, to be honest. For obvious reasons. The musician was impressed by the courage and brotherhood in the story, and especially by how Campbell had tried to take the rap for the killing. The meeting was to take place at the bar of L'Hotel, the upscale Toronto hotel where Earle was staying while promoting his album, The Hard Way. When Campbell and Charmaine got there, Earle was nowhere to be found. That wasn't surprising, as Earle hadn't yet gone into rehab to clean up his heroin and booze addictions, which had started back during his early teens in Texas. After several minutes, Campbell and Charmaine went to the front desk and the clerk called up to his room. A few minutes later, Earle stepped out of the elevator, looking as if he hadn't slept for 3 days or so, which may have been the case. "Lorne, I think you're overdressed," Charmaine said to Campbell, who had worn his dress garb of clean jeans and a red Satan's Choice t-shirt. The meeting went well when it finally began. Earle's an anti-war, anti-handgun, anti-death penalty peacenik, but he took a liking to Campbell, whom nobody has ever accused of being a pacifist. "He was really nice," recalls Earle. "Actually, he was the quietest of those guys. Larry Valentine. You always knew he's in the room when he's in the room." Both men understood the transformative power of stories, and both men had plenty of life experience to draw on when they told theirs. Earle hadn't been in a club himself, but he understood what it meant to be an outlaw biker. He had spent much of his childhood in Texas, close to a clubhouse of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club. The Bandidos had been set up in the 1960s in the Texas Gulf by returning Vietnam veterans, and working class kids there knew there was a good chance they would end up fighting in Vietnam, unlike middle and upper class hippies who could get draft deferments by enrolling in university. Peace and love didn't make much sense to them. There was still the class distinction. Much of Earl's early performing was done inside the Bandidos clubhouse. I grew up with bikes. I grew up with scooter trash. I carried guns for years. I don't carry them anymore. I'm a different person than I was when I was hanging out. Earl didn't have to be told there was plenty of crime in biker clubs, but he also saw it was simplistic and inaccurate to dismiss clubs such as the Satan's Choice as nothing more than organised crime units. That sort of judgment totally missed the point of men like Campbell. It was really more about live and let live, defending everybody's right to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do. Earl also realised there were subtle but real cultural differences between clubs such as the Hells Angels and the Choice and the Outlaws, even if they all might look the same to outsiders and sound the same as they roared by on their Harleys. Memorials to dead club members and Choice clubhouses showed photos of the fallen men in their prime, smiling and alive. Not so with the Outlaws. When you went to an Outlaws clubhouse, you saw pictures of them in their coffins and at their funerals. It was a little creepy. Earl was an avid history buff, and Campbell particularly enjoyed The Devil's Right Hand, a song about a gun-toting juvenile delinquent in the Civil War era whose mother calls his handgun the Devil's Right Hand. Earl saw a historical parallel between Campbell's attempt to take the fall in court for the Mattiac shooting and General John Buford's actions in the Battle of Gettysburg. Buford, who headed a Union cavalry unit, chose to dismount and confront the enemy at close quarters, despite being heavily outmanned and ultimately doomed. Buford's battlefield decision gave Union forces time to occupy a ring of hills around Gettysburg and win the battle, so his cavalry's sacrifice ultimately saved their brothers' lives. Earl respected how Campbell was willing to step up in court and try to protect his biker brothers despite daunting odds. He nutted up, man. He saw those guys were all going to go down for something he did. He didn't just do it. He did it knowing it might not do any good. And he did it anyways. I've got a lot of respect for Lorne. Being honest didn't get him very far. That should never happen. Being honest should count for something. And in Lorne's case, it didn't. The amount of times I've been persecuted by my own Queensland and federal government for being honest and law-abiding and truthful, doing the decent thing. It's enough to make a grown woman weep. But swings and roundabouts, people of Earth, I'm kind of protected in my little open-air prison, my little government house with my little pension. It's small compensation for what was actually stolen from me, you understand, but, well, I'm still grateful even for that much. Do you want to see the beautiful sunset, my beautiful people of Earth? Can you see it through the tree, through the blind? Let me, ow, standing on my dress. Can you see it? Pink and gold and peachy hues. I'm very partial to sunsets. I could have seen sunrise this morning. I was awake in time for it. But I didn't think to go out in the backyard and face east. So I missed it. But you know the old song from Fiddler on the Roof? Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly fly the years, one season following another. They will bring happiness and tears. Well, less fucking tears and more happiness. Am I right, people of Earth? I think so too. We've done quite enough oceans of tears in our time. Trying to sit us back. There we go. I actually need a cup of tea, but I wanted to do 2 chapters today, so we're doing it, people of Earth. We're doing it. Earl's involvement in the drug world taught him that notions of honour... What's that? Something to do with McDonald's. I've got no interest in that. Involvement in the drug world taught him that notions of honour among thieves are most often just fantasies. Still, there was something solid there in the way Campbell conducted himself. Lorne's that rare guy that I don't think ever gave a piece of information on anybody but himself. I don't think he has it in him. There had been a time when Earl kept loaded guns, including a pistol, under his mattress. But he realised that the very presence of a gun changes the dynamic and possibilities of interactions. I don't see anything incongruous with being a peacenik. I'm pretty non-violent, and I'm getting more so every day. And he's the only person I know for sure who killed someone. As their improbable friendship grew, Earl realised that Campbell suffered personally over ending Mateich's life. I think he thought about Bill Mateich all of the time. It has more than bugged him. It has followed him. Campbell became a regular at Earl's concerts in Ontario and made a point of always requesting The Devil's Right Hand, while Earl began dedicating his song, The Other Kind, to Campbell. It includes the lines, "And I'm damn sure not suffering from a lack of love. There's plenty more where that came from. But leave it up to me to say something wrong and hurt someone before I'm done." Other lines included, "There are those that break and bend. I'm the other kind." Just bear with me a little bit, people of Earth. I want to put my birdies to bed. Into bed you go. Go on. In your cage. Good boy. You're such a beautiful, gorgeous, handsome boy. And you're a good birdie. Do you know what a good birdie you are? Yes. If it's a nice day tomorrow, like it was today, but you missed out today because Mama went out with Auntie Lynn. But if it's a nice day tomorrow, you'll be going out in the garden. Yes, you will. Why am I struggling to put that stupid thing on? By the gods. Right, here we go. That's you sorted. You ready to go sleepy boys? Oh my goodness, you pulled off your cuttlefish. You must have viciously attacked it for it to fall off. Have you been a busy boy? Look at this. Psycho Budgie. Psycho Budgie. Psycho Budgie. Alright, my little one. You're a feisty little bugger, aren't you? Yes, you're my feisty little one. Mama T loves you. Feisty or not feisty? He ripped it so hard he pulled the little piece of metal off on there that holds it onto the cage. My goodness. Feisty. Is that your sexual frustration, little boy? Is that what's going on? Hmm? Yes. You've got to drink that water because that's your worming water. You've got to drink it. Not getting anything else till you've been thoroughly medicated. There we go. There. You go. Oh, good boy, you're drinking. Oh, you're so good. You're so good. Just a few more sips of that and you'll be alright. We're not having any wormies on my boys. No worms allowed. Worms are gross. Just hold it back a little bit so I can still see you till we go to Betty Buys for real. But you're all ready to go. I won't put the heater on yet because it's not cold. It's quite pleasant at the moment. I have the heater on through the night and a thermostat. I come in here in the morning, it's all lovely and they're living their best life, these birds. They live better than the Mama T. I don't have a heater on in my room, but I have the electric blanket. So don't worry. We're all doing A-OK here, by the gods. Right, now where was I? Alright, yes. Back in Kingston, Rick Sauvé and Gary Comeau were still behind bars serving life terms, but there was some room for optimism. In January 1990, Sauvé married a 22-year-old University of Ottawa graduate who was just 10 years old and growing up in a middle-class family when he was convicted. What? Okay, I get it. I had to couldn't process that for a bit. Right. Michelle wasn't how one might imagine a woman who marries a man serving a life term. She wasn't desperate. She wasn't tattooed. She wasn't one of those women who send lurid letters and full frontal Polaroids to convicts. She first met him when her criminology class visited Millhaven as part of their study of lifers. Their dating consisted of 2-hour visits several times a week for almost 5 years. In a sense, the physical distance imposed by their extended engagement gave the relationship an oddly chaste, traditional feel, if you could somehow imagine prison guards as chaperones. Sauvé had filed a court challenge to a provision in the Canada Elections Act that barred convicts from voting. Sauvé kept fighting until eventually prisoners were given the right to vote. The fight to win his own freedom, however, was far from over. Earl played a benefit show in an Ottawa nightclub on June 30th, 1991, to raise awareness of the Port Hope case. That night, he was invited into the Ottawa clubhouse of the Outlaws, but said he wouldn't go unless Campbell was invited too. Campbell said he was game, but also ready for trouble. I said, if there's one derogatory statement, then it's a go. Campbell and Earl entered through the side door with Wally High. Wally High, it sounds like Bally High, doesn't it? Well, Mama T, lateral thinker that I am. Now I've got that song running through my head from South Pacific. I was raised on musicals, you understand. It's a bit tragic, to be honest, but I haven't seen The King and I 3 times. I've seen it 27 times. I've seen The Sound of Music about 30 or 35. I've seen Paint Your Wagon about a dozen times. I've seen, and so on and so forth. Anyway. Campbell and Earl entered through the side door with Wally High, who was close to Campbell and Earl, but also managed to stay on friendly terms with members of the Outlaws who had once been Satan's choice. There was music playing on the ground floor, the usual biker mix of artists including Led Zeppelin, Grand Funk Railroad, George Thorogood and the Destroyers, and Bob Seger. And other guests that evening included some outlaws up from the States. I really am getting thirsty. The Outlaws were on their best behaviour as Campbell wore his choice colours. But one friend of the club looked at his vest and snapped at him. What the fuck's this? Before I could get a chance to get to him, they got him and bet the snot out of him and threw him out. Then they bet him up again and told him never to come back again. It was all before I got a chance to hit him, and I was pretty fast. Campbell and the president went upstairs to talk in an office for about 3 hours. The president was curious about what was happening in prison, where the outlaws were being beaten by Satan's choice with baseball bats. We were comfortable, but I was ready for anything, Campbell says. I didn't feel tense because I don't feel tense. He told the Outlaws president that he had turned down another biker's offer of a pistol to bring into the Outlaws clubhouse in case things went sour. Well, look around you, the Outlaws president said, referring to the numerous potentially dangerous outlaws in the building. It wouldn't have done you any good. Campbell nodded at the point. Well taken. When it was time to leave, Wally High said he considered the evening a success. He always felt he could be the peacemaker, Earl says of High. I think it was the only time a choice member was in an outlaws clubhouse anywhere. Earl considered High the most peace-neck biker you ever met, and High radiated particularly good vibrations as he left the clubhouse. "We made a lot of peace tonight," High said as he walked out of the party. "No, we didn't," Campbell replied. "I wasn't there for that," Campbell remembers. "That wasn't my goal. I just went because they invited Steve." There were a few more drinks back at their hotel before Earl fell asleep on the phone talking long distance to his wife. The next day, Canada Day, Campbell rode Earl on the back of his Harley up to Parliament Hill. I rode right up on the lawn. There, Earl sang "Justice in Ontario" before telling the crowd, "These guys have been locked up for pushing 13 years, and I really truly believe that they're innocent. The thing that irritates me is not a matter of someone else's differing opinion. It's their complete and total indifference to the situation." Bill, Mr. Bill Lavoie of the Choice, had ideas of his own about how to spring Sauvé and Comeau from custody. A visit to Mr. Bill's place in the village of Warsaw near Peterborough was always an adventure, but the day he discussed freeing the imprisoned bikers was odd, even by the standards of Mr. Bill. To get into Mr. Bill land, you always had to call in advance and let him know you were coming. Otherwise, odds were high he would be in a surly mood in his laneway with a loaded shotgun in each hand. Back before the Port Hope convictions, Merv, Indian, Blaker had once neglected to call ahead, which explained the shotgun damage to the side of his car. Before you went to Mr. Bill's, you were also advised to use a washroom, as his facilities didn't include a toilet that actually flushed. Gross. Sky's a hazy shade of pink. It's actually unusual looking. I'll show you again. People of Earth, it's all, can you see it? It's all grey clouds, grey black looking clouds with pink overtones. Isn't it pretty? Oh, nearly fell from my chair, which would not have been pretty, but anyhow. Right. Sometimes new arrivals to Mr. Bill's would assume things couldn't be as bad as others claimed and ventured into his washroom. Despite the warnings, they'd go in and they'd come out green. Also at Mr. Bill's, visitors were expected to take their shoes off at the door. Even though it appeared he hadn't moved things inside the house for decades, and that he didn't care in the least about the paint-peeling devil's brew in his toilet. Campbell and his friends pretended Mr. Bill was fiercely protective of his floors and made visitors remove their footwear. Mr. Bill had been in the Choice since 1967 and was president of the Oshawa chapter between the Peter Rabbit and Campbell terms. He knew his way around a Harley to the point that he could stand up on the seat of his bike while riding down the road though most of the time he was a safe rider. Mr. Bill was also a paranoid's paranoid. When planes flew over his property, he would invariably look up and earnestly proclaim, "Look, it's the police." Recreation at Mr. Bill's often involved shooting guns in his backyard. Once Mr. Bill levelled a pistol at Campbell and pulled the trigger. Bang! Campbell was wise to Mr. Bill's antics and knew it was just a starter's pistol. "Did I scare you?" Mr. Bill asked. "No, but look at her," Campbell said, gesturing towards Charmaine. "Charmaine just about had a heart attack." Mr. Bill had a disarming way of looking deadly serious while saying ridiculous things. Once, while punching out a couple of men he found irritating, Mr. Bill barked out, "You guys are jerk-offs. I've jerked off better men than you." Campbell and Fat Frog couldn't stop laughing, trying to figure out what he was really trying to say. Another time, in Windsor, a biker slipped Mr. Bill dried horse shit wrapped in a rolling paper and watched him take a long, hard drag on it, thinking it was marijuana. "Fuck, this is good shit," Mr. Bill pronounced. During a meeting in Hamilton, Mr. Bill snuck up behind Campbell and kicked his legs out from under him. Campbell was wearing a buck knife and thought seriously of burying it in him. The only thing that stopped me was seeing that Satan's Choice crest on his back. He had enough respect that he didn't do it in front of anybody. If he had, I probably would have stabbed him. Mr. Bill talked fondly and often of his weapons collection. Bikers like to remember the day Mr. Bill went to a police station to retrieve a shotgun that had been seized during a raid. He loaded it and fired it right in the cop's desk. He said, "You've never seen so many cops run so fast." He got 3 months in jail for it. Campbell arrived one day at Mr. Bill's home only to find him stretched out naked on his bed, wearing nothing but a neck brace and a pained expression. He needed the brace to help him cope with pains from a bike accident of years before. The pained expression came from his thinking about what could be done to help his imprisoned clubmates Sauvé and Como. His first question was about the daily routine at Millhaven. "Lorne, do they still have everybody go out in the yard?" he asked. "Yeah." "Do the guys go out?" "Yeah." Next, Mr. Bill directed the conversation to the old tank Conqueror that was parked in front of the Oshawa Armories across Simcoe Street from Campbell's boyhood apartment. "We can get that going," Mr. Bill said. "We could get it transported down to there. We'll go through the fence. We'll have a boat waiting. They won't know what hit them." "Are you aware the Canadian Army is nearby?" Campbell asked. "By the time they get there, we'll be gone." "Okay, I'll think about it," Campbell replied, not wanting to excite Mr. Bill further. Campbell was drunk when he arrived one night at the Oshawa clubhouse. The only person inside was member Stan, who had on his back a tattoo of the body of Jesus with Stan's face on top, wearing a crown of thorns. Apparently, no one ever asked Stan what the tattoo signified, perhaps fearing that he might explain it. Stan was dead asleep in an upstairs bedroom. Campbell shouted for him to come down and join him for a nightcap. "No, I'm sleeping." "Come down and have a drink with me." "No, I'm sleeping." "Go on, have a drink with me." "No." "Well, you're coming down." "No." Campbell started to climb the stairs, and Stan didn't want to be bothered anymore. It was so dark that Campbell didn't see the armchair Stan pushed down the stairs until it was on top of him. Stan then fired a shot down with his Walther PPK 7.65, the same snazzy pistol used by Agent 007 in the James Bond movies. He wasn't trying to kill Campbell, just make a point. "Oh, you want to play that way?" Campbell thought. He went behind the bar and pulled out the much more substantial .3006 rifle. 3006, I don't know how to pronounce that. .30-06 rifle that was stored there, and fired a round up through the ceiling. Campbell could hear Stan make a break for it across the top of the stairs. Campbell squeezed off several shots, and they all went between Stan's legs. Campbell had thought he was firing somewhere else, farther from his friend. Clink, clink, clink. Stan pushed his Walther, don't know how to pronounce, Walther. Walter, down the stairs, signalling surrender. "Have a drink with me." He did. When the man wants a fucking drinking partner, he wants a drinking partner. Maybe I should go all Calamity Jane and get a pistol and fire shots at men when I want sex and a drinking partner. But nah. Sounds like too much fucking effort. I'm joking, you understand. You do understand that I'm joking. Not about the effort. That part's true, but... Well, my boys, my gentlemen, my much beloved, wonderful, handsome, talented ones, and all other interdimensional entities, non-human intelligences. Another night at the Oshawa clubhouse, a young biker named Danny caught Campbell's attention with a boastful comment. "If I ever fought you, I'd punch your fucking head in," Danny announced. Here goes Danny boy again. I think it's a different Danny though. "You're 40-something. and I'm 20-something. Oh, youth is wasted on the youth. Oh, I can see this going bad very quickly. Ha 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 ha. Almost looking forward to this. I know what moves you make, what you do. I won't tell you, but you've only got 3 or 4 moves. Tell me what you do. I won't tell you, but you've only got 3 or 4 moves. Tell me what you do. No, I won't. The conversation was getting repetitious, which would annoy me too, by the way. So Campbell punched it up by giving Danny a short, sharp hook to the head. Danny responded with a shot of his own that didn't come close to dropping Campbell, but which made Danny oddly proud anyway. A moment later, Stan walked into the clubhouse, just in time to see Danny hit the floor. I'm out of here, Stan said, and retreated back outside. Out of prison for a little while now, Bernie Gindin became a partner in a 120-acre campground called Shangri-La in cottage country near Huntsville. There they staged outdoor shows with name acts. One memorable appearance was by John Kay, whose classic open road freedom song, Born to be Wild, was part of the iconic 1969 biker film Easy Rider. What biker didn't want to hear him live singing I Like Smoke and Lightning, Heavy Metal Thunder, and We Can Climb So High, I Never Wanna Die. We built the stage by ourselves for him, Campbell recalls of Kay's show. He said, I'm not playing on that stage. Wayne Kelly said, if you won't play on that stage, we're taking all your equipment and your vehicles and you're walking or hitchhiking home. He played. It was an excellent show. They go through all of the songs exactly like what's on the albums in the 1960s. Gindin's impresario career ended shortly afterwards when an investor pulled a knife on him and Gindin responded with his fists. That meant another 6 months behind bars and the closure of Shangri-La. He filled him in, Campbell says. Bernie doesn't hit softly. And thus concludes today's offerings from Satan's Choice at Sacred Space, Titania's Realm. And the sun's gone down and it's Friday night. Friday night's good for partying, people of Earth. But it's a rare event, but the Mama Tea's going to be a good Yiddish mama tonight. Stay home and nurture my soul and my lungs and come back even more powerful than ever before. And I'll miss dancing for Ramjet, but it is what it is. There'll be plenty of other dances, no doubt. So on that note, I bid you good evening, good night. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you are in the space-time continuum on our cycling blue marble in the Milky Way galaxy. Enjoy your day and night and afternoon and evening and morning, and be happy, be wild, be free. Bye for now, planet Earth.